You guys were really into these chairs in the last video, and I need you to know there's two. I got these while antiquing. God, I love them. Can't get enough. But for the sake of my video, I'm actually gonna drag this one out of frame. Greetings at once and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another clean with me video. Finally, I don't remember the last time I filmed one of these dedicated clean with me's. I used to film them all the time because I really enjoy making them. You seem to enjoy watching them. I think it's a nice little collective motivation for the group to clean our spaces and our spirits and just have a totally wicked time. So I'm very happy to have another one for you today. And this video, I'm currently filming the intro, 6 months pregnant. Oh yeah, the bump is bumping. But I actually filmed this, oh, I just sat on my back support pillow. I actually filmed this on my 29th birthday while 5 months pregnant. So it's been a minute. It was just a random Tuesday and my sister was about to come into town for the weekend and we had fun plans for the rest of those days. But on the actual Tuesday, I was like, literally all I want to do is clean and prep for her arrival, because this space, which you saw in my last video, needed to be deep cleaned after 8 months of renovations. It was so dirty with how many walls we put in, all of the sawdust from putting in the new floorboards and the baseboards and the trim. I just wanted to get into every nook and cranny of this space, top to bottom, speed clean it. Well, it wasn't really speedy. It actually took like 3 days. I just knew that I had never hand dusted all of the wood beams in here and every little surface. And let's be honest, I kind of knew that the last owner probably didn't. I don't know how often he was really getting up there and getting the microfiber cloth up on every ledge. So that's what I needed to do. And all I have to say is the nesting hormones during this pregnancy were hitting hard, okay? I was like, I need to do this, otherwise my brain will not have a break. And because my sister was coming into town, she was going to be staying in this room behind me, the future kids room, for the first time. And I was like, I can't have like dust raining down off the fans on her, and her best friend was coming into town. It was a whole thing, okay? So we had the motivating deadline of trying to finish not only all of the 8 months of renovations in this 1,000 square footage of space, but also the clean with me. I was like, okay, we have to move furniture in because Lindsay has to be in a furnished room. At least some mattresses thrown on the floor for them. You know, they didn't need anything too fancy, they just needed a place to stay. I'm sitting here filming this intro for you today, a month later than I filmed this video, because, well, I accidentally filmed this video not only entirely in slow motion somehow, but also on mute. So all of these clips were only salvageable because I was going to mute them, voice over them, and speed them up. But anything that I filmed where I was talking face to camera has to just be scrapped, and I'm just going to be refilming them in my little cozy chair today. I feel like a woodland queen whenever I sit in this. It's just awesome. But the reason I'm talking about my birthday and everything like that is because while I'm cleaning, you're going to be hearing 29 lessons I learned at 29. And I've been filming these videos every single year since my 20th birthday. And I just love having those videos as like self-reflection to look back on. They're basically just like long journal entries, and it's so nice to have the lessons throughout the year to put in my phone and be like, yes, these are all of the things I've learned from books or interviews and podcasts and shows and TV, you know, all the things, movies. I just collect all of them. And sometimes people just tell me lessons and I'm like, yes, that is hitting. And that also resonates with my year. And then I'll record that down as well. And then some of them are my own words, but I just want to say not all of these are from my old noggin. But yes, the lessons will be the backtrack to this video while I get in there and get my little microfiber extendable duster on every surface and try to knock down all the dust. And then I needed to get in there and hand dust as well because that wasn't enough. And just, oh, we were really burning the midnight oil, as they say, trying desperately to get this space finished for the deadline of my sister's visit. And I actually talked to her on my birthday and she was like, you're cleaning on your birthday, like just for my visit? No, 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 no. And I was like, Lindsay, I wanted to do this, okay? The pregnancy hormones, they just can't even be described. This is all I wanted to do actually with my time. And it was very cathartic, but it was very tiring. I mean, being 5 months pregnant and feeling very large was a lot, but I like having you guys basically there with me when I'm deep cleaning such a large space, because it's very motivating. It's like you're checking my work or something. And speaking of checking my work, I'm just going to warn all of you ahead of time that I did have to use a step ladder for basically this entire video because I had to top to bottom clean this space. It had to be done somehow, okay? And I know what you're thinking, Megan, that's a fall risk. You're supposed to avoid those things in pregnancy. But it's like, what else was I supposed to do? I tried outsourcing the ladder work to my friends and having people help, but like Finley was very busy tying up all of the loose ends of the actual renovation projects, like painting things and getting last cuts done, which you'll see him working alongside me in this video. And then I needed to actually eventually call in the big guns and have my friend and her mom, who was in town visiting, come and help me as well. And then our other buddy came the next morning to help too, because this was like 3 full days of a deep move-in clean. It just didn't really make sense to like stand on the ground with my hands on my hips and be like, clean that fan better to my friend, you know? I was like, I'll just do it. And there's plenty other dust for you to tackle as well. So that's my little disclaimer at the beginning of this. Obviously, I was trying to be safe on all of the step ladders and take breaks when I needed to. I wore a supportive belly back band for this entire video too, and tried to wear either my recovery slides or my Brooks, my running shoes with my arch support inserts, okay? But without further ado, let's get into speed cleaning over 1,000 square feet with you, starting with cleaning out all of the dead bugs in this light fixture. Disgusting. And let's also get into 29 lessons I've learned at 29. The first lesson being, you are not required to bare your teeth at your own image. I don't know who needs to hear this, but I realized throughout the past year that oftentimes when I look in the mirror, I'm looking to like fix something or just make sure that I don't have anything in my teeth or like my hair's not all messed up. You know, I'm looking for a flaw basically. But a lot of the time it's actually pretty nice to just look at yourself in the mirror and give yourself a freaking compliment. You don't always have to look at your own image and get upset at it. I just don't really understand why the brain does the things that it does sometimes, but I'm trying to be better about that, so figured I'd share that. And the second lesson is I am not required to worry while I wait. This could be for really anything in your life that you have to wait for, but I sort of attribute this to pregnancy, like in the first trimester. It can be just a very anxiety-inducing time, but it's nice, at least for me, to remind myself that I don't have to worry about all of the things in the sort of uncertainty of the first trimester before you feel more comfortable telling people. I could actually tell my close personal friends because if anything were to happen in my pregnancy, I'd want them to know. And the support and the joy of having that celebration with them is way more important than worrying alone in isolation about all of the things that could occur. Lesson number 3 is I am the most physical, most mammal I have ever been because I'm a new mother. I don't think that lesson needs any explaining. Lesson 4 is the joy derived from serving is 10,000 times that of being served. I know most of you know this, but in my life currently, I am very passionate about volunteer efforts, and it is definitely a hard balance to walk between like my paid work and my unpaid work, but I always come back to this lesson of just having so much joy from serving others and knowing that that is benefiting my community. It just feeds my soul so much and it just makes everything so worth it. So highly recommend if you have the time. Lesson number 5 is a quote from Momo, who was for some reason let go of the Nurse Jackie cast after season 1, which really upsets me because I just thought he was such a wonderful character. But in an episode he was in, he said, if I do one good thing a day, I feel good about my life. And I don't mean this in like a, you do one good thing a day and it cancels out the 99 other things you do that are bad. I'm saying this more so as if you're having a very hard day and it's very hard to find motivation, I just try to do one good thing. One good thing that's going to make me feel better about, you know, my to-do list or how the state of my home currently looks, or one good thing for my relationships, like calling your mom or your grandma or something like that if they're still around. Just one thing is a little bit more manageable than looking at the to-do list as a whole. Lesson number 6, I honestly feel like I might have included in last year's lessons learned video, and I just didn't go back and watch that video to check my own work. But the older that I get, the more I realize that I really do enjoy having a lot of friends for a lot of different reasons and seasons. And they don't all need to fulfill every role for me in my life. Like, I have mom friends. I have friends who are never going to have kids. I have friends at my volunteer job. I have older people as friends in my life. I have mentors. You know, it's like these different roles all make the collective picture of my circle and community, and it just makes me so happy. And it's really nice to not depend on any one person to be all of those things. Lesson number 7 doesn't need an explanation. It's more something to marinate on. But every thread we pull, we know not how it affects the design of things. Lesson number 8, spend your money locally. I am very passionate about this because I live in such a small town where businesses and restaurants go under very frequently. But when I get a paycheck or something like that, and I'm looking to just go on a little shopping spree or treat myself, of course, after I put a lot of it in my high yield savings account, you know, I didn't forget that from my lessons learned video last year. But I really do enjoy bringing money back into my town because it needs it the most. Of course, I'm gonna go in and try to buy a little trinket, or at least, you know, maybe a little sticker or a book or something like that. I understand that there is a certain level of convenience with shopping online, but it is so important to support the people who are opening stores around you. Speaking of the people around you, lesson number 9 is if you want to have a village, you must be a villager. And this is also a very hard concept, I think, for a lot of people to incorporate into their life, because people talk constantly online about the death of the village and how they don't have any community around them. They don't even know where to start. And in my head, I'm like, I've been there so many different times because of all of the places that I've lived throughout my life since, you know, moving out of my parents' house. But if there are certain things that you are expecting from your community or your village around you, you have to also find the time somehow within your routine and your busy life to give back in some small way. So I'm talking meal trains for people who are recently postpartum or injured or going through something or have a loss in the family. I'm talking offering to walk your buddy's dog. You scratch my back, I scratch yours, kind of a thing. Not to be all, nothing in this life is free, baby, but you know what I mean. Like, if you have this desire to have people show up for you and support you, it's kind of like, why would they do that if you've never once showed up for them or supported them? But I just wanted to share this as a reminder that in such an online culture where people feel very alone and like they don't have anybody around them to support them, if you crave that support, find a way first to give the support. And I'm not making any promises, but you know, sometimes it comes back tenfold. And I want to caveat that by saying this applies even if you don't know the people. Like getting involved at a shelter or seeing somebody's meal train in your community posted on a Facebook page. Even if you don't know those people or know what they went through, you can make a meal for them, deliver it, and learn about them. Lesson number 10 is being open to your inner world, even when it is painful, always offers the possibility of renewal. That one's sort of a mic drop. I'm gonna move on to lesson 11, which is a quote from one of my favorite children's podcasts. It's called The Gnomes of Wonder Garden, and it basically is like a story through the seasons. It's kind of Waldorf inspired for sure, so if you like that kind of a thing, you'll definitely enjoy listening. There was a quote that I heard when I was listening with my daughter. One of the gnomes said, "You're good not because of how you care for your house and garden, but because of how you care for your friends." So that's something that I like to remind myself, because I feel always like I'm a good friend. I show up for people in my life, and sometimes my house and my garden and these things sort of fall on the back burner. And sometimes things look messy because they're lived in, and that's life, right? But that should never take away from your own self-worth or how you believe that people are going to perceive you or your home or whatever. Like, you're a good person because you're a good person in how you interact with people. You're not a good person because you have all of the shiniest new trinkets, you know, like a crow. I don't know where I'm going with this. You can tell the Waldorf stories are really getting to my brain, honey. Lesson number 12 is the TV may be full of terror, and the terror may be growing with every passing hour, but the trees are full of music. And this is a quote from a book I'm currently reading and loving called The Comfort of Crows. So it's really funny that I just talked about crows and trinkets in my last lesson, and I didn't even see this next lesson ahead, so that's just silly. But the author of this book said something else that I really resonate with and relates to this lesson. I can't remember exactly what the words are, but it was something along the lines of taking a break from pouring water on the wildfires, like with your bucket, taking a break to just put the bucket down for a second and breathe. And sometimes living in America, that is just how it feels. Like, you just have a bucket and you're just dumping and dumping and dumping left and right, especially if you're online and you're reading all these headlines all the time and you're just like, God, when's it gonna end? These flames. But at the same time, it's nice to remember that there's always music in the trees. There's always an opportunity to put the bucket down, go outside, take a little time for yourself, breathe, and that will refuel you to be able to pick up the bucket again. Anyway, lesson number 13 sort of relates to that as well, and this is actually a Mr. Rogers quote, but what we see and hear on the screen is part of who we become. This is such a great reminder that, you know, the things that we are exposed to every day, whether it's the news or the things that we consume on social media, like that is a part of us that becomes who we are. You know, that's why so many of us have certain vines that are stuck in our head, these little sound bites and things like that. It's like that has now become a part of my personality. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but it just goes to show like this is all part of who we become. Lesson number 14 is inner peace doesn't come with understanding. It comes with trusting. Trusting that things are just going to work out. Trusting that things will be okay in the end. And that is what brings me inner peace. Lesson number 15 is another one of those, I don't know who needs to hear this, but belief in unworthy things like fear or doubt is lunacy, okay? So if you're having a moment in your life right now where you're being very doubtful of yourself, or very fearful of the next step or something that's about to unfold for you, just remember, it is pure lunacy to put any more thought into that than you already have. Lesson 16, oh God, this one was a heavy hitter last year. Accept that people are not at their best when they're stressed, and accept that for yourself too. My God, I mean parenthood, man. This really just sums it up, okay? There are definitely certain times where I feel like I am super on my game. Everything in my life is really aligning work, life, social, motherhood, family, all of these things. But then there are also times where I'm very stressed and things don't feel as though they're aligning at all, and I'm definitely not at my best. And if I am able to recognize that in myself, I should absolutely be able to recognize that for all of my friends and family whenever they're having those moments as well, whether they confide them in you or not. Just give people some grace, honey. Lesson 17 is embrace the mess. I honestly had a lot of trouble learning this lesson last year, mainly because we were renovating this large space of our house for so long that it felt like one half of my house was gone to renovations and the other half of my house was just jam-packed with our life and our mess and our chaos and our love and everything. And I just needed to embrace that mess rather than constantly worrying about certain things or when it would go away or what people would think when they came over, if they saw all of our belongings crammed into one corner of our home. It's just like none of that actually matters. Just like embrace it for the season that it is. It's going to be over in less than a year and then you'll move on, okay? In the grand scheme of life, it's really nothing, honey. Lesson number 18 is the most important learning is the ability to accept and expect mistakes and deal with the disappointment that they bring. I also think this is a Mr. Rogers quote, honestly, and I don't think I need to add too many words onto this lesson. Just take it for what it is. Lesson number 19 is don't be afraid to ask for help. You will see throughout the course of this video that I slowly started to realize that I could not do this alone while 5 months pregnant. I obviously had my husband who was helping me along the way, but he was also very busy with other things. And I was like, crap, man, I want you to focus on all of those other things so I can focus on the cleaning, but I can't tackle all of these things within the scheme of, 2 days, let alone 3. It was really pushing it. So I ended up calling friends to help us out, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video. And I'm so glad that I did, because what if I was just like, no, I can't do that. I couldn't ask for people's help with cleaning. I know a lot of people in my life who are very headstrong, and I very specifically try to rework that and unlearn those lessons and be like, community is everything. This is what community is for. Like I was talking about earlier with being a villager. It's like people show up for me, I will absolutely show up for them. That is just the kind of person that I am. And I am happy to accept the help when I am able to call upon it. So just don't be afraid to ask for it. What's the worst that can happen? They say no, can't do it today? Okay, you text somebody else. Lesson 20 is if you're gonna do it right. And this was another lesson that we learned during the renovation because we had all of those setbacks with installing this new hardwood floor. And there were so many times where we would just talk to each other and be like, God, is it worth it to go back in and drill a tiny little hole and inject it with a syringe of wood glue and then clamp it down so that it can, reseal itself back to the rest of the floor? And how tedious that process was. There were so many times where Finley and I would ask each other if it was worth it. But then we would always come back to this lesson, like, if you're gonna do it right. You don't wanna not put in the floorboards correctly and then constantly walk through the space and be like, God. Lesson number 21, I learned from the great Caleb Heron. I love him. I listen to his podcast all the time. And he was saying this in an interview with a friend, but when he's feeling down or bad, he just asks himself, is today a wash? Or can we fix this? And I think that that's such a valuable lesson to remind ourselves of constantly. Like, is today a wash and I just need to get back into bed and watch a couple of movies and have a rest day and be rejuvenated for the next day ahead? Or can we fix this somehow? Like, do I need to just go and see a friend and vent to them? Or do I need to go and take myself on like a solo coffee date or something? Or have a little shopping spree? Like, can we fix this in some way where I will feel refueled? Or is today just to get back into bed and try again tomorrow kind of a day? Lesson 22 is there is honor in every season. And this winter was a grueling one. It was long. It was the most Vermont winter that we've experienced since moving to Vermont. And I truly loved so much of it. But what I found so funny was that when I would talk to, especially older people that had like chosen to move somewhere else that is warmer, snowbirds, they lived here for a period of time and then they moved to warmer places. They would just be like, oh, that's terrible, whenever I would tell them that it was snowing or something. And I would be like, no, it's not terrible, it's just the weather. And I really was fine with it, but I found it to be so interesting how often it happened. It just kept reminding me that there really is honor in every season and we don't need to make each season go away. And I think that there's a lot of people who are like, I'm just a spring lover, or I love the fall. Like me, Meghan, I love the fall. But also I see that there is honor in every single season. This book that I'm reading, The Comfort of Crows, has really been teaching me that. And I think also that podcast that I mentioned, The Gnomes of Wonder Garden, listening to that with my daughter really helps me honor every part of the year, because it being released each week in accordance with the seasons, it just makes me notice so much more. Lesson number 23 is from the great Brittany Broski, who I believe said this on Royal Court. Correct me if I'm wrong. But she was basically just talking about how it's such a skill to be able to catch a string of a conversation and pull on the thread. And that's a skill that I try to exercise in my daily life. Like sometimes you'll just be having a passing by conversation with somebody at the library that you don't know that well, but they'll say something to you and then you can just pull on that little thread and suddenly you're in like an hour-long conversation with somebody and you're like, oh my God, how did we get here? This was incredible. And I love days like that when I have a little interaction that turns into a big, meaningful one. Lesson 24 is maybe you just have too much stuff. And this is actually something that I learned from my sister, who made an organizational video recently on her YouTube channel. And I loved it so much, but she talked about this, like, don't go out and start like buying all these things to organize your life. Oftentimes you just have too much stuff and you just need to get rid of all of the items that you have. You don't need to keep everything and just sort it into the right little aesthetic containers. You just need to declutter. Lesson 25 is what you judge in others, you recognize in yourself. And I truly feel like I have said this lesson in other videos over the years, but it just resonates every single time. Lesson 26 is take the pressure off of your friendship hangs. This is really hard for me to do, honestly. When I have friends over, my instinct is to host and make a lot of food and deep clean my house beforehand, which are good things to do. But sometimes it makes the plan of hanging out with a friend seem much less attainable because I think of all the things that I have to do before I can do that. And over the past year, I've just tried to be more open with people coming over and seeing me in my jammies, or coming over just to sit on the couch and yap for like an hour and then just be like, all right, I'm gonna head home. I don't have 3 hours to spend here. It's like, that's fine. Being able to hang out at all or meet up for a short amount of time at the park with our kids, that's better than not seeing anybody. So just take the pressure off. It might bring a little bit of ease into your relationships as well. Speaking of ease, lesson number 27 is the peace that you crave now is so much more valuable than peace later. And I'm not saying that having peace later is meaningless. I'm just saying that to me, it can be very valuable to learn how to be at peace in my life currently, rather than thinking about the peace that I'm going to have once X, Y, and Z is done in my life. Lesson number 28 is if you're hurt, be hurt. I have so many people in my life where sometimes I ask them how they're doing and they're like, yeah, I don't know, I'm just really going through something right now. And then I'll ask them a question, I'll pull on the thread, right? Oh, well, have you told your partner or something like that? And they're like, no, I don't really tell them stuff like that or something. And I'm like, so you just pretend like you're not hurt every day of your life in your own home? If you're hurt, be hurt, man, because people need to see your feelings. They need to know the impact that they have on you. And you need to know that too. Your body can't just be in a constant state of denial of the things that you're feeling. Like if somebody hurt your feelings or said something to you that made you upset, I absolutely, and maybe this is just the Aries in me, I'm going to be like, that was really rude, or you hurt me, because that's what they deserve to hear when they say something hurtful, rather than me brushing it off and not saying anything at all. It's just not worth it to me. Don't bottle things in. And number 29, the final lesson of this video is I get by with a little help from my friends, which you've seen throughout the course of this cleaning process. I would be nothing without the people around me. There's been so many times over the course of the past year that I've just realized how much my friends give to me every single day and how I just strive to give back to them in the same way. I don't know if it's like the older that you get, but a lot of people, I feel like, just hire help for everything, which is totally fine if you want to do that, right? But sometimes I'm like, well, my friends will just come over and do it for free. And sure, you can only ask so many times. And sure, you can only ask so many times without giving back something as well, which I mentioned in this video. But living in a culture that just feeds each other and feeds off of each other, God, it just brings me a great amount of joy. And I'm just so honored and lucky constantly thinking about my community and my friends and just being like, this was just a great spot to pick to live, truly. I hope you enjoyed this video and seeing me deep clean this space top to bottom before we brought all of the furniture in. Next up, we're gonna get to decorating in videos together, which is so exciting. This space is already, I would say, 70% furnished, but I really want to decorate the kids' room with you next. I just want to like decorate the walls and pick out rugs and all of the fun things that you get to do when you decorate a home. So thank you for checking this off of the to-do list before we can get to all of those things together. And I hope you enjoyed watching me clean and watching my friends help me clean. And I want to say too, like, most of this video was just me dusting and wiping, but the morning that Finley and our buddy moved all of the furniture back in here, our friend literally came over before work at like 8 a.m. just to help us get all of the heavy lifting done that he knew that my pregnant ass couldn't do. And I just, really appreciate him for that. But something that was sort of unseen in those clips because he was in the other rooms that were out of frame, but he was vacuuming everything, which I feel like we didn't get to do, like me and you. But we were literally pedal to the metal until that morning that Lindsay was flying into town, and it just felt like everything was happening all at once and we needed all hands on deck, and woo, hallelujah, we got it done. Then when she came into town, I could relax a little bit and chill. And we had a lovely visit, and I just love my sissy so much. So shout out to her for giving us this deadline for finishing renovations and cleaning. It is so nice to have something like that in your life, just to be like, this will all be done by this day. I have chosen it and it is set in stone. Anyway, the lighting is changing a lot in this video. I'm gonna hit the road, Jack. I don't know why I called you Jack. That's probably not even your name. Is there any Jacks watching this video? I'm just yapping. If you want to hear or read more of me yapping, you can always subscribe to my Patreon. And in the meantime, I'll be probably somewhere on social media at Meghan Hughes everywhere. And I love you. I'll see you in my next one. Stay smiling. Bye, y'all.